My name is Christopher Smith, and I am father.
I am father.
Back against the wall, head still high, push through it all. Father am I, lead by example, but still I gotta follow. Value your seeds, let's promise them tomorrow. Forever I stand, it's never to be a bother. Forever I'm man, forever I'm father. Forever I stand, it's never to be a bother. Forever I'm man, forever I'm father.
My name is Alan Irvin, and this is I Am Father. So this is Alan Irvin, and welcome to another episode of I Am Father. I'm here talking with my boy Chris. What's up,
sir.
Chris?
How you doing? Good to see
doing
you.
well,
Good
man.
to see you again.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming out, man. On the short notice, we've been trying to get you out for a minute, man.
I know, man.
Last time I talked to you, man, you was dropping some jewels that I can't wait to get into. So,
not a problem, man. I mean, the truth doesn't change.
all right, introduce yourself, man. What's your name?
All right.
First and last name. How many kids you got, man? And
All right.
let's get the whole gamut.
All right. Christopher Smith. I have 2 kids. Well, they're not kids per se. My son is 20 now, and my daughter's 15. They have been, very instrumental in, making me the man I am today.
Okay.
So, they fortified
Yeah.
those steps for me.
Yeah. So, do you think you are a man before you are a father?
No, not at all.
Because you were saying that the kids made you the man that you are today.
Yes. Because as I mentioned before, before you're a father, yes, we all, we'll call ourselves, a man, but I didn't realize what man meant until, my children were born.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was first my son. I was in the street.
Mm-hmm.
I was, having fun. I was not married. So, when my son was born, sadly, a lot of times that's, looked at as a non-positive. It's like, oh, you're perpetuating, you're making things, negative perpetuation, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
of the deterioration of the black family. But I didn't
Because
look
you
at
had your kids before you
before
got married.
mhm.
Uh-huh.
Now both my kids, they have the same mother.
Okay.
We did get married. Right around the time my daughter was.
Mm-hmm.
And
How long were you married? 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years.
So they was able to see that cohesiveness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they got some good stuff.
Exactly. And we can get into marriage and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that that in itself, from a marriage perspective,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't learn how to be a good husband until the end of my marriage. Okay. And those were things that I was able to meet with what we would consider the old heads or the OGs of the guys who have been there,
Mm-hmm.
and explained and really taught me, like, okay, no man, this is where you go wrong.
Right. So you agree you can be a good father but not a good husband?
Correct. Oh yeah, definitely. And vice versa.
Absolutely.
You can be a great husband and a terrible father.
Right. And that in a marriage actually can be a serious conflict.
Exactly.
Not even knowing that.
Exactly. So
Good stuff, man.
So yeah, man. I mean,
So you were saying your father came into your life when you were a teenager.
yes.
Okay. What about your mom?
my mom, like I said, I was raised by my grandparents.
Okay.
You know, she gave us to, you know, my grandmother.
Okay.
You know, when she was 16, she had my brother. She got pregnant when she was 15, had him at 16.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
so she had them kids young, y'all young.
Yeah, and I was born when she turned 20. You know?
Okay.
So, so yeah, man, you know, we both ended up, you know, with my grandmother. And I understand what you're saying. You know, your environment, you know, can at times play a part, but at some point, you know right from wrong.
Mm-hmm. That's when you become a man, when you start putting away those childish things.
Exactly. Well, on top of that, you know, you also look at the fact that, you know, son or daughter needs you in their life. You have to make a conscious decision to not do that, regardless of what's going on between you and the other, you and their family or what have you. You know, that's still your son or your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to be able to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to put this, you know, behind, and I'm going to be here and make sure I'm there for, you know, my son or my daughter.
Yeah, that's a conscious decision that every father has to make. Yeah. You know, eventually, and it's just the quicker they make that decision, the better. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to come to that realization, you know, and you have to stop being selfish. Okay, and you have to also look at, okay, my son needs me. My son needs me. Okay, and I need to be here for him.
Right.
You know.
So your son was living with were your son and were your kids living with the mom at that time?
No. When you know, I call myself, you know, doing the right thing, which is, you know, before my son was born, I moved her in to my home.
Okay.
So, you know, we lived together, you know, raised my son, because I didn't want him to grow up the way I did.
Right.
Always wanting to see your father in camp. Okay. And this is what I meant by, you know, you have to, you know, mentally say, okay, you know, it's not about me. That was the biggest thing for me, you know, because, you know, I was like 26 when he was on the way.
You're young though.
Yeah, I was like 26, about to be 27 when he was born. And for me, I was like, okay, I don't want him to grow up like I grew up. I don't want him to want to see me and can't, you know. So for me, it was a no-brainer, you know. And you know, it, for the most part, it worked. You know, you're gonna have your ups and downs in relationships. But you know, nevertheless, you know, I learned a lot from, you know, uncles, you know, from my father. You know, later on in life, you know, like when I was my senior year in high school, you know, a lot of things came out, and I found out that, you know, it wasn't that my father didn't want to see me. He couldn't. You know.
Why is that?
You know, most of the time I was kept from him. You know, and
is this by your grandparents or by
my mother,
your mom?
Yeah. So it was.
So she still had animosity toward him.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, man. That's definitely unfortunate, because, like you say, it's selfish.
Yeah.
That's very selfish, because it's not about. It wasn't about her. It's not about your dad. It's about you.
Exactly. And this information, you know, didn't come from my father. It came from my grandmother.
Right.
You know, and my father, you know, when I went to him and talked to him about it, you know, he was like, he felt like it wasn't his place to tell me that because he felt like if he did, he would be bad mouthing my mother. And for me, that was huge because it was like, you know, regardless of what's going on between your mother and I, you know, I am your father and she is still your mother.
Absolutely.
You know, and he said, always understand that and respect that. He said, regardless of what happens between you and your son's mother, you know, he said, understand that you might look at her as this person. You know, he said, but understand that your son looks at her as mom. Okay. He said, you have to understand that. He said, that is his mother. He said, so if you mistreat her, you're mistreating him.
Right. So he was on board with the co-parenting. She just had to get on.
Yeah. So, I mean.
So he was almost there.
Yeah, I was almost there. Yeah. But I'm telling you, man, I've learned so much. And, you know, when it came to my son, you know, I knew that because of my father and mom, you know, it takes a village.
I was about to say
It
that.
does,
Speak to it takes a village to raise a kid.
It does, because my thing is, you know, if you have uncles, okay, if you have mentors, you know, that's experience and knowledge that, you know, that can be given to you. You know, the key is you just have to listen, you know, and you have to be willing to, you know, to take that in. You know, you have to accept it.
Right.
You know, if you choose not to accept it, then, you know, you're just floating through time. And, you know the saying, hurt people.
Right.
So with that, you're looking at, okay, if you have, you know, gems of knowledge and wisdom to give to me and I ignore it and I hold on to my hurt,
it's going to be hard to receive.
Exactly. Because you have to let it go. You have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, you got to get free, man.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the worst thing you can do is to be hurt and not let it go. Because when you're hurt, wherever you are in your life, if you don't release that, that is where you will stay.
It's going to be your stronghold for a minute.
That is exactly it. You know, and it could be your stronghold for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. You know, I tell you, man.
Sadly, that's my mother. You know,
even to this day.
Yeah. I mean, she's beginning to, you know, to kind of
Come around.
let go of hurt and stuff. But I mean, you know, my father passed 5 years ago, and up until then, she still held like animosity towards him. You know? And she never would take responsibility for her own actions. You know, accountability was not there.
Right.
So yeah, I mean,
why you think she was so hurt though?
Oh, well, you know, I mean, now, I'm not saying that my father was
the best,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. You know, he was, Papa was a Rolling Stone.
Okay? I get it, yeah.
Papa was a Rolling Stone.
But even in the midst of that, it takes maturity to understand it still ain't about her. It still ain't about him, it's about you. It's about you.
Now, there's a, you know, the breaking point between my father and my mother was he had his own construction company. So, you know, he traveled, and he was traveling when, you know, I was born. Okay. Now back then, you're talking about the 70s, man. There were no cell phones. There were no pagers. You know, he's in Louisiana, so it's like, you know, by the time he found out, you know, I had already been born. However, he was on the way back. So yeah. So, you know, that was a big issue. And then, you know, the part where, you know, his mistake, well, not mistake, his carelessness. You know, I don't know if you ever heard the term ghetto twin. Yeah, I have a younger brother.
Same age.
6 months apart.
Hey, it wasn't called ghetto twin, but I'm in that boat with you.
Come on, exactly.
I got brothers. Yeah. Look.
Yes. So, with that, that was,
So she never forgave him for that.
correct.
Yeah.
And well, the thing was, I mean, and on top of that, he was, he had proposed to her. He had given her a ring.
Your mom.
Yes.
Okay.
And once she found this out, again, you remember this is the 70s. So first thing she did, she took the ring and pawned it. Okay. When he was off on another construction job, came back, found out she had pawned the ring. Okay. And he was on. He said, and he was telling me this story, man, and he was like, he said I had to leave, like 3 days later. He said, so he told her, he said, listen, he gave, he said, he asked her how much did she get for it. She told him. He said, I gave her that money, and he said, go get the ring. He said, when I get back, I expect to see the ring. So he left, came back. She did not have the ring.
Kept
the money. Did not have the ring. So, he was like, look, let's just go get the ring. She didn't want the ring.
Still hurt.
Yeah, upset. He was like, look, we can, and he was telling me, man, he was like, look, we can get past this. Look, let's just go get the ring, and let's just, work through this. So with that, they got into an argument. Old school, man, throwing clothes out the window. And so he left. And he was like, when you get the ring, he said, I'll come back.
So where were you? You were still with your grandparents?
I was with my grandparents, yeah.
Okay. And your father is telling you this story.
Yes.
Okay.
And he was like, he's like, for like weeks, he was asking like, hey, go get the ring, and so it became this, just this battle between them. He's like, get the ring, and she's like, no. But the thing is, you wanted to be with him, but you wouldn't go do something.
Now, how old was your mom at this point? Your mom and your dad, are they?
They're in their early 20s.
Early.
I think I was like 2 at the time.
They still young, man.
Yeah.
They still young and caught up in their feelings, not understanding that it's you that matters. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Trust me.
and you were in your 20s when you had your son.
Yeah.
26.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how did that affect you? How did that affect your fatherhood? How do you think that affected your fatherhood?
And for me, growing up wanting to see my father and couldn't, and then in the beginning feeling like, he didn't want to see me, like I was like not worth, it made me feel like, I wasn't worthy, like, well, dang, I mean, does he care about me? And when I got to the point to where I could communicate with him, things started changing, and in the realm of like, okay, I can reach out to him and say, hey, can I come this weekend? And his thing was like, anytime I was able to like reach out to him and get in touch with him and ask him, like, he never said no. But here's the catch. Yes, I was over my grandmother's house, but when the weekend would come, my mother would come and pick me up. So, and so she'd be like, oh, well, come with me, and and so I'm like, okay, well, my dad's coming. Okay, no, don't worry about it. We'll be back. We would go. He would come, and I wouldn't be there. So she would wait. Be gone like most of the day. So my father would leave. And I would get back, and I'm like, okay, I'm waiting. And then it's like, as a kid, you're like, damn. So again, during this time, it's like cell phones,
Right.
and all that stuff. So if he wasn't home, so I call the house, he's not answering. So yeah, man, that went on.
Yeah. So it's really I can see how it affected you. I can see the effect of with your dad, and we often say, it's no blueprint to father. I mean, actually, yeah, we often say there's no blueprint to fatherhood. I mean, there's no manual on how to be an effective father. What do you say to that?
I look at that. I disagree with that.
Okay.
The way it was, the way it has been relayed to me was the fact that you are the manual. Your past is
meaning
the blueprint.
you are the manual.
Yes, you are the manual.
As the new father.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, how are you the manual?
Okay. The way you become the manual is all the things that that were said to you as a child that were positive. Those are the things you say to your children. All the things that that hurt you as a child, or that were not explained to you, or that were left out. Those are the things that you have to navigate and teach to your children.
Navigate in what way?
When I say navigate, I mean all the things that that you feel like, okay, I wish someone would have explained this to me. Okay, that's something that you need to navigate. In other words, you know the saying that there's nothing new under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's just a small tweak, right? The same things that that you might have gone through in school or with your friends, or family, or whatnot. There's a very good possibility that your children may go through the same thing, but it might be in a different light. But it helps to be able to talk to them and give them your experience.
Absolutely.
And one thing I don't do is I don't sugarcoat anything. I don't lie to them and say, I didn't do that when I was a kid. I let them know that, okay, these are things that I did. They were wrong. Okay.
Right.
This is, I don't make it seem like I'm, some holier than thou father. I didn't do anything wrong, because that would be lying. And,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, but a lot of people, they say, oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, and they don't explain why. Okay. It's like, okay, I know you told me not to do that, but it's good to know why.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The funny thing is, from my kid's standpoint, I have to be careful how I joke with them, because they believe what I say.
Do you think you could be friends with your kids?
I am friends with my kids.
Okay, you could be friends and a father.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. See, a lot of people look at that and say, "No, you can't do that." Yes, you can. Okay. And it helps if you are.
Okay. Why?
Because my son, I'll start with my son. My son and I, we are the best of friends.
Okay.
And I know it might sound crazy, but we are. My son will say my son and daughter, they say, oh, well, my dad's my friend. My daughter actually says I'm her best friend. Now, the reason that is if you can't understand that you will always be their parent or their father, their mother, you'll always be there. There's nothing that will change that, ever.
True.
But what you have to understand is that it is an option for them to accept you as a friend. It is an option for them.
Yes, that is true.
Okay? Now, if you can't see past, well, I'm your father, I'm your father, I'm your father. When you have that mindset, there's no room for friend.
True.
Okay? Because guess what? I can't come to you and talk to you on a friend level. Okay? Because you're my father.
You got to get out of that disciplinary role.
Exactly.
Because they can get comfortable with talking with you.
Well, now from the standpoint, and I know a lot of people, they come with the fear of, well, I don't want them to disrespect me. The only way your child will disrespect you is if you have allowed that disrespect to grow and to root. Now,
throughout the entire relationship.
Exactly. Okay. Now, as a father, I've always been disciplined. From my son's perspective, what I'm trying to, what my goal was with my son was to raise a proper man.
Oh, what?
A proper man. Meaning, when you're raising a man, okay, and I use the example of building a sword. Okay, you take that raw iron, okay, put it in the fire. Okay, that fire is you, being there, building respect for you in him. Okay, because you are his father. Okay, you take that hot iron and you beat it into shape. That means that that's your discipline. Okay, beat it into shape. But then on the other side of that coin, you have to temper it in ice. Okay, ice and water, because then it makes that iron flexible. Okay? You can't raise your children and make them rigid, because the pressures of life, if it's too much pressure, then they'll break. Okay, they need to be flexible because the world requires it.
Bend but don't break.
Come on, that's it.
How important is respect? How important is it that a father, in your opinion, that a father gets that respect, not only from the kids but in their house? I mean, from the mom as well.
Now, from a man's perspective, respect is love. Okay. And even if you go, you're supposed to, love your family, love your wife, but nowhere does it say that they're supposed to love you. You're supposed to honor. They're supposed to honor. That is respect. We look at if someone respects you, that is love to us.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it.
I mean, I could definitely see that. I mean, I'm big on respect.
Yeah.
And it starts in the house.
Most men are. Think about it. If your lady, is not respecting you, it comes across as hate or dislike if she's not respecting you. And I'll tell any of the guys out there, it's the day that your woman does not respect you, leave.
Hey,
because that's it. That's it.
You got to get that, because once you don't have that in the house, especially the mom not respecting you, it's going to trickle down to the kids.
Exactly.
And what good are you there? I mean, you supposed to be there to manage the entire process.
Yeah. I mean, because if your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, if she does not respect you,
she's not gonna listen to you.
The writing's on the wall.
Yeah, she
on the wall.
is love is trickling down.
Everything.
Everything really goes out the window. I mean, you're not able to run a business. You're not able to do a whole lot if that respect is not there, man.
Right.
And it took me a minute to even realize that. I remember when I was married for 15 years, and a lot of things that was being done without my knowledge. Like, we would go and we would be driving. We can drive to the store, kids in the back, you know, my wife at the time in the passenger side, and I just had I didn't understand why no one got out the car until I opened the door. I mean, and to a point, I mean, God had to really just stop me because I never said, y'all get out the car. They were waiting on me to open the door.
Yeah.
And that taught me a lot. They're waiting on me to make the move. You know what I'm saying? They're waiting on me to get out the car and say, what's next, Dad? You know, they actually, and what I found is they actually got their own little world that they probably on their phone, listen to music or what have you. But when we get to the destination, what do we do next?
Yeah, because that you making the move, is completing and then starting anew.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's definitely respect is huge, man. Respect is huge. So yeah, you were talking about the blueprint. You are the blueprint, and what you did was actually describe the purpose of this podcast. Because what we believe is, even though we say that there's no blueprint, there's no manual or anything like that, but your father teach you indirectly.
Exactly.
Right. So what he didn't do, you had 150% on trying to do.
Exactly.
You know, so I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Now, as it relates to respect being, you know, built and, you know, reciprocated. This is what my grandmother, you know, instilled in me. She said, "Tell the truth and be a man and be a man of your word."
Absolutely.
Okay. She said those two things will carry you, and that is the truth. Because, and I was saying earlier that, you know, I have to be careful what I say to my kids. Like, if I'm joking, you know, because they believe if I say that I'm going to do something, they know that I'm going to do it. You know, something, you know, my grandmother, of course, she knows. You know, her thing was, she said, listen, if you ever tell, you know, children that you're going to, follow through. She said, I don't care how tired you are. I don't care what's been going on. You have to complete that. They have to know that regardless of whatever's going on, Daddy told me he's going to do this and it's going to get done.
I get it. But I tell you, my young one gets away with a lot. I'm telling you, I done whooped so much ass, and with my other ones, I just I'm tired of whooping ass. You know what I'm saying?
I'm telling you.
So he get away with it, and I tell him, man, you ain't told to get your ass whooped.
Yeah.
So I do the thing, you know. I got this thing. I walk around the house with the belt on my neck, and walk strong. And when I put that belt on, stand up, sit up straight.
Yes. And you know, and look, and that's the thing, man. My kids, man. I when I tell people, I'm like, man, yeah, my kids are like Pavlov's dog. You know, if I take my belt off and I shake my belt buckle, they're like.
Right.
You know, they're looking for me. They're like,
right.
Wait, I haven't done anything.
Okay. Right. So I walk around with the belt because hopefully that'll be enough. I'm tired of whooping.
I'm trying to retire this belt.
I'm trying to retire though.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man. But yeah, you actually described the podcast because I mean that is the blueprint. I mean, you are the blueprint. And that's the reason we have guests like yourself on, because
I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what your testimony is doing is teaching other people, other fathers, other future fathers, or current fathers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, let them know we're not in this thing, by ourselves.
Oh, yeah,
The same thing you going through or went through, they going through right now, and your testimony can help that. So we put fatherhood journeys on display.
I definitely appreciate that.
Good stuff,
and,
man.
And I'll say this: for the fathers that are, that have sons, and the fathers that have sons and daughters, and they will probably attest to this, that it's different. You love them both, but you love them differently.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So why is it that you love them differently?
Because they're different people.
Okay. How are they different people?
Now, they have completely. Now, my son and daughter, two totally different people. Okay. My son, he reminded me of me. Growing up. So I love my son. I love him hard. There was a need for structure, discipline. Because I'm raising a man who will someday be a father and someone's husband. So, and I know somebody might be listening and say, oh, well, he said, father before husband. And I'm sorry, husband, father. Life is life.
Mm-hmm. What about your daughter? How's your daughter?
Now my daughter. I'm sorry. That's more. How can I say my daughter?
Is she more like you, or is she more like her mom?
She's more like me now.
She was like her mom. So what?
No, I'm saying she's more like me at this point in my life.
But earlier she was like her mom.
No. I'm saying no. No, she's. Oh man, I'll tell you like this. Her mother always says that. She says, "I carried her, but that is you." So
that may change, and what I'm trying to drive in and hone in on is the purpose. One of the purposes and key factors of co-parenting. Because there's going to be some aspects in that seed that's like you, and some aspects that's like the mom.
True.
That you may not be able to nurture or even correct like the mom. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the key reasons co-parenting is so important.
True.
Especially when you realize that it's not about you, it's about that seed. It's about your kids. You know what I mean?
And my perspective on that. My son, he's more like his brother. Okay. And my daughter is more like me. Now, of course, I'm in there, and of course, she's in there.
Let's stop right there, though. So your son is more like his mom. So just think, if the mom wasn't around, right? There's going to be some missing points that, as he grow up, that can be more mature, you know what I mean, if she was around. But she is around. So I'm just saying, it's very important. Co-parenting is very, very important. And I got a book coming out on co-parenting. Oh yeah, absolutely, man, because it's very valuable that both mom and dad are present.
Yeah, that's true.
For the purpose of the seed. Now you got some couples out there that's going through what your mom and your dad went through.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And at that point, God is with you. But it could have been a lot better if they was together, and not saying together in the same house, but co-parenting.
Exactly.
That they knew you was the main thing. You know what I'm saying? You probably could have been the president of the United States.
Could have been the first Obama, bro. Could have been the first Obama.
Right.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean. Now, my daughter. Okay, she's my son. Made me. He made me. I'd say he made me a better man.
You were saying in the beginning.
Yeah, but my daughter made me a better father. Yeah, I mean, because my son, I knew I was like, okay, you know what? He needs me. I gotta be here. I have to be able to, give him, nurture him, everything that is me, I need to provide the best of. My daughter came, when she was born. It was, a wave of, responsibility that just hit me. I then realized that, I was the only man she would ever love unconditionally. Okay. And also, I am the tool by which she will measure all.
Absolutely.
So that is, a tremendous amount of responsibility.
I can see that.
And it is an honor that many of us don't realize that's been bestowed upon us.
Absolutely.
So with that, I've learned, and in the beginning, your sons need their mothers.
Absolutely.
Okay, in the beginning, in the younger years,
Absolutely.
they need that love and that nurturing. They need that as a foundation. Okay, and then as they get older, it's our turn. It's not in the beginning. It's like 90-10. 90% mom, 10% dad. But as they get older, that shifts. To where once he's adolescence, and now dad is 90%, mom is only 10. With the girls.
So do you think the mom can be the mom and the dad?
Man,
You got single parent moms out there, and
true.
okay,
Mom has to show strength, but you also have to. There has to be, and I can almost tell you that somewhere, regardless of if you were raised by a single mom, there was a man somewhere that was able to reach that that child and say, you know what, this is how you're supposed to be.
that man can be a
Coach, mentor, teacher, what have you.
Absolutely.
Okay, because us as men, we inadvertently we seek that. Okay, and when we find it, we gravitate to it. Okay, I mean, look, I tell you, man, my grandfather, that was my guy.
That was your father figure.
Yeah, and outside of him, it was a football coach. Actually, he just retired this year, Coach Gartrell.
You hear?
Yeah. He was Coach for Stevenson.
Okay.
But but my daughter, the girls need their fathers early. Because they need to know what it's like, and in other words, what it's like to be loved and how they're supposed to be treated. A lot of you say, "Oh, treat her like a princess." Yes, yeah. Because my thing is, she is my princess. I don't want. My thing is, what I do should be the bare minimum of what she expects.
Setting the standard.
Come on. Okay.
Yeah,
Remember,
setting the bar.
I am the tool by which she will measure all men. Okay. So if someone is, if someone is, not, meeting the standard, it's not going to feel right.
Yeah, and that's that's what it is, a feeling. She know how it looks. She know how it feels. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
See that.
but my thing is, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, because I am father.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely. That's good stuff, man.
And that's one of the reasons why, my kids, we are friends. my daughter's 15, and there are all of her friends, always say like, man, I wish I could talk to my dad like you talk to my dad, because we talk about everything, and she, I didn't ever want them to feel like they couldn't come and talk to me about anything. Okay. She comes to me and talks to me about, about boys, if she likes someone, what do I think, she gets my opinion. And, because, her thing is, she was like, well, Daddy, you were a boy, so, I tell her, it's not about, guys out here, they're like, man, you messing up the game. Like, no, it's not. Because my thing is this.
Oh, you got to give your daughter the game. If I had a daughter, I'd definitely be putting her on game.
Well, but the thing is this, you can explain the game from first page to last. It's up to her to make the decision to use this information or to just see, let me see what happens.
Your daughter is definitely a daddy's girl.
Oh yeah.
Now, do you ever run into situations where your mom her mom is leading her down a path that you don't necessarily that goes against your bar that you already set? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've sadly we've been in situations like that.
Yeah.
One thing that I've always told my daughter is use your words, express yourself.
Okay.
Now, in that same breath, I have to be able to accept.
Now, this is to the guy, or
no, this is to my daughter.
Okay, you use your words, meaning
use your words. Like if something is bothering you, if there's an issue. And I'm going to get to where you are.
Okay.
This is the foundation of what I have done as a father. From her being a toddler on up. To use her words, express herself, and give her the comfort of being able to come to talk to me about anything. I've been blessed to have had both of my kids be able to feel comfortable enough to come to me and talk to me about
right
and everything. True enough. Now, some things, you like.
But what if the influence is coming from the mom, and being spirit away from you, and the influence is she's more so believing what the mom is saying and not the standard that you have laid.
Okay. Now, as it relates to standards, my standards are rooted in truth.
Okay.
I know that, my word and everything that, that accompanies that, has to be rooted and grounded in truth. If her mother is untruthful, then, I'm able to stand on that because the truth doesn't change. Okay. Now, as it may relate to, depending upon how old your daughter may be. See, there are two parts to this, because as a child, let's say under the age of 12, the influence of the mother is great. Okay, right. Because she's constantly, especially if she's constantly, like there and feeding information, whether the information is true or false.
Absolutely.
Now,
at that age, they're like sponges.
Yeah, they're sponges. Now, once they that 12 and up, you're looking at them being able to decipher information and actually pay attention and see what's going on. That's when truth starts reigning. Okay, because again. When I was growing up, that's when the truth really started. I started really seeing more truth. That my father was like really trying to see me, and at that point, it's the illusion of control. Okay, the sooner you realize that you don't have control, but more so influence, better off you'll be. You know, and understand that, you know, whether, you know, you're having major issues, you know, with, you know, your son or daughter's mother, from a man's perspective, just know that all you have to do is just keep telling the truth. Don't hide anything. Don't, you know, lash out at the mother, you know, because if you do, then you have to understand that your son or your daughter is looking at you like, why are you hurting? Okay. So you have to understand that if, you know, in any aspect of the relationship, you have to say, okay, you have to look at it like, okay, that is my son's mother. Okay. That is my son's mother. Okay. Because you have to keep that in mind, because if you don't, then you might say or do something to that person that is, you know, and you're not looking at her as being the mother of your children. Okay. You know, that should hold regardless of the, you know, situation or relationship.
Between you and the mom.
Exactly. Between you and the mother. You know, you have to hold that and keep that, because that will keep you in line.
Right. I mean, your relationship with the mom is different from the relationship with the kids, with the child's relationship with the mom. They love their mom just like they love their dad. I remember when I got divorced, my son came up to me. He was like, "Well, Dad, are you still gonna pay the bills, or is mom just, what's gonna happen to mom?" You know what I mean? So when he said that, I realized that he had to see me make sure that his mom was okay, because as much as possible without going across a boundary. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But he's looking at that just like if your daughter, I don't know, at this age, she's let's say she's 20.
No, 15.
She's 15.
Yeah,
okay.
he's 20.
But the older that she gets, she's still gonna have that influence with the mom, and she's still gonna look at how the dad is really treating the mom. She still loved that. Yeah. So it's really, it's still a respect thing. That's respect come all the way up there.
All the way.
Yeah.
The respect, the level of respect is always high, and it never goes away. Okay. Regardless of what's going on, you know, you have to respect her for who she is. Okay. You know, and true enough, you know, you might not get that in return from the mother, you know, and which for a lot of us, you know, it makes us want to withdraw, you know, and withdrawing is the wrong thing to do, because now you're hurting your son or your daughter, okay, because now you're being negligent.
Yeah, as far as leaving the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't run it, and it's hard, man. I think even married couples still have to co-parent in a way. It ain't called co-parent because you're parents, but you still have to build that relationship, and it's rooted on respecting each other. You know, submitting to each other, to one another.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's counseling plays a role in that.
Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, you know, from if you're talking about, you know, especially if you're married and, you know, you're kind of going through the issues that come with marriage at times, you have to take a moment and understand, and this is both, you know, the husband and the wife. You always have to know and believe and execute this one thing. It's always you and your spouse against a problem or an issue. Okay? Your spouse is not the issue. Your spouse is not the problem. It's you and your spouse against the problem. Because if you don't take that, you know, if there's an issue, you'll always do this. You know, you always look at your spouse.
And it's important, man, that you keep those handle those internal issues as much as possible without letting external issues come into play, because
Right.
even when you marry, especially when you marry, you got to manage that house where you got to control what's the external issues. The external
Exactly.
could be her mom, her dad, whoever
Your
is in-
mom, your dad.
my mom, my
Yeah,
dad,
exactly.
whoever's influencing that situation, you got to really just manage that. That's why I say the father got to manage that entire process.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So let's talk about it, man,
Okay.
because when I was coming up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, counseling was not looked upon as a good thing, you know, and
Yeah.
you don't get. I didn't get a whole lot of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think I could have got counseling at a teenager,
Mhm.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
coming up. How important is counseling though with between a mom and a dad? Because you got that communication is key. When they say communication is key, communication is key. And when I finally accepted some counseling, I realized, man, I wasn't communicating the way I need to be communicating. You
And-
know, how important would you think, you know, with everything that you been through coming up, how important would counseling would have been for you?
All right. I'll say this.
Okay.
Went through counseling,
Okay.
you know, as a married couple. I will tell you this. You only get out of counseling what you put into it. Okay? If you come, you know, halfway, then you're going to get a half, you know, you're only going to get half of, you know, what you need.
What you put into it.
Yeah. And you have to bear all. Okay? You have to,
What do you mean by bear all?
any skeletons, you have to get
Oh.
everything out. You know, because if you're holding on to something, then, you know, that's not going anywhere. You know, that's one other thing that's still going to be, you know, an issue. You know, whether it's something that you're holding on to, or that's you know, that involves you, or something that you're holding on to that involves the other person. Because some people look at counseling as
Definitely got to be transparent.
exactly. You have to be transparent. Some people look at counseling as intrusive. You know, yeah, I don't want this person all in my business. You know, but your business is falling apart.
Oh yeah. I mean, you got to be definitely open, man. And a lot of times with counseling, you realize that, I mean, and this is a whole new conversation as well. But you realize that there's some mental health issues.
Oh, definitely.
You know, it's some underlying mental health issues that's going on that you got to be
Depression is
open
real.
to. Depression is real. Anxiety is real. You know, these behavior disorders are real. And you live with it so long, you think it's normal.
Exactly.
You know, you numb to it.
Well, our issue as, you know, in the African American community is the fact that, you know, we don't believe in counseling.
Right.
Okay. You know, when somebody says something about, you know, well, you need to talk to somebody, first place we go is
The church, yeah.
okay, and not everyone that's in the church is, you know, and not everyone in the church has the capacity to, you know, counsel and, you know, come with a, you know, a viable solution, you know, or a path forward. So it can be very difficult.
Absolutely.
And oh man, as it relates to you know, the parenting aspect, you know, when it's you and your spouse against, you know, an issue, you know, you have to communicate. And the part of communication, what a lot of people don't know or leave out, is a little something called active listening. Okay.
What is active?
Okay, you know, that's when you transmit, receive, process, and then you transmit back to the person, so they can receive what you think you heard. Now, active listening is, let's say you hit me with a statement, and I say, like, okay, I heard what you said, and now I turn to you and I say, okay, what I heard you say was X, Y, Z. Okay, that is active listening, because once I learned active listening, the arguments and issues I had, actually, I want to say decreased by half. Because a lot of times what was said to me, we're men. So it's always, okay, well, that's not what you said. We'll say that to our spouse, and we'll say, well, that's not what I said. That's not, you'll say, that's not what I said. And she's like, well, okay, well, that's not what I meant. Okay. Because what she thinks and then what she says might come out a little different.
Yep.
We're more, I like to say it, men, most of the time, we're simple to a fault.
Very simple.
Come on. We are simple to a fault. Hold on, wait. And, I know there ladies around here will be like, no, you guys are not simple. We are simple to a fault. Okay. Most women look at or pay attention to what we say and or do, and they say, well, they can't be that easy. It can't be that simple. Yes, we are that simple.
Who we're talking to, our audience that we're pretty much talking to is for future fathers, right? And current existing fathers.
Gotcha.
What tips would you give that audience?
Well, for the future fathers, if you're not married, don't look for a girlfriend. Look for your wife. Okay. Your wife will come to you. Okay. In the Bible it says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. He didn't say he who finds a girlfriend.
Right. Good stuff.
A wife, a woman doesn't become a wife because of her weight. A woman is a wife because of her character. Okay. These are the things that we have to know and understand. And the same thing goes for being a husband.
Absolutely.
You proposing and wearing a ring doesn't make you a husband. Character does.
Right.
And these are the things that we have to understand and hold dear, and know that this is just the truth. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with your mate. For those of us who are already married, and looking to be fathers or already fathers, it's all rooted in truth. And be a man of your word. Follow through. If you're able to do that, your wife will follow you. The willing submission. That's what this is about. To one another. Okay? If you are a man of your word, truthful, she'll follow you to the end.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Thanks for coming out, my brother.
Man, thank you for having me.
This was good, man.
I really appreciate it.
This was good, man.